Everybody, it's been a little while since I've made a YouTube video, so I thought that I would post a little update. Since my last video, I have moved into my own place again. So without further ado, let's take a walk through some of my machines here. So now that I have my own place again, I decided to buy some more shelving units. When I moved, I sold my metal shelving unit, and I bought, let's see, how many more did I buy? I think I bought 2 shelving units, but the 2 smaller pieces, I kind of disassembled so that I could fit some more uprights on there. So this is a Watermatic 5. I bought it from a vacuum collector in Pennsylvania when I was at his house for a little visit, and this vacuum was probably made in the 1990s. The power nozzle is down here. There seems to be an issue with the wiring to the power nozzle because it keeps blowing light bulbs when I replace the light bulbs, so I'm not really sure why, but whatever. But I've been using this vacuum kind of as a shop vac to clean out other vacuums with, and it works well. This machine would have originally come with a shampoo system as well, and it is technically bagless. It works kind of like a Fairfax but without the bag. And it's I think it's like a 3, 4, or 5 layer filtration, so for the time the filtration's pretty good. It's a little messy to empty because it has a flat filter above the dust container that can get pretty dirty. So actually, now that I think of it, it's really more of a Silver King type of a machine, except the filtration is a little better with it. But anyway, that's the Watermatic 5. They no longer make this machine as far as I know. It was always kind of like a small company, but they didn't go under that long ago. I would say probably only about 15 years or so ago. And they were in business for a long time. This is a Rainbow D4. I got this from a vacuum collector, and it was a trade-in for a Hyla, as far as I know. It works well. The previous owners took reasonably good care of it because the separator in the fan housing doesn't really have a lot of corrosion, so they didn't store it on the wet basin, at least very much. I did replace the brush roll in the power nozzle, but other than that, that's all. I got a few attachments for it as well. I was able to get genuine original Rainbow attachments. Down here we have some Kenmores. So this red one was my grandmother's last vacuum. She bought it at Sears in 2004, and I used it the other day. Really happy to have it in my possession. I still have the receipt. I think she paid about $250 for it. And when she bought it, she bought a 24 pack of allergen yellow paper Kenmore bags, and that's pretty much the only bag she ever used with this machine. She didn't use it all that much, so in the 14 years she had it in her house, she pretty much only went through all those bags, and that was it. So she didn't really use it a whole lot. This is a Kenmore Whisper Tone. I bought this at a thrift store in Pittsburgh when I was still in school, and it's in really good shape. When I took it apart, there's not really a lot of dust or dirt in the motor compartment. So that led me to believe that it wasn't used very much, because these vacuum cleaners, as they age and you use them, they tend to blow a lot of dust because their filtration's not very good. So I was happy about that. The power nozzle does have some scratches on it, unfortunately, but other than that, it's in good shape. The hose had a short, so I did have to replace the hose. I found a friend who has a vacuum store that I got it from. Interestingly, this machine does not have a beater bar power nozzle, so this is one of the early rectangular nozzles to not use beater bars. I never knew that they were black. I had only ever seen the solid wood color power nozzles without the beaters, so that was kind of interesting to see. Down here, we have this Miele S328i. It's pretty much like a White Pearl as far as I know. It is variable speed. I was able to find some attachments for it on eBay. I really like the power nozzle on this unit. It's the one of the earlier style of Miele power nozzles that has a metal bottom plate and brush. It works really well. It's a dual stage Lamb motor. I bought it from, I can't remember if it was either hers or it was her parents, but I think it was hers. But it's a really nice machine. It is really heavy because of the Lamb motor that's in there, but I kind of have a fetish for Lamb motor vacuums, so that's kind of why I wanted an older Miele like this one. And next to it is my Eureka Excalibur canister. I bought this on Facebook Marketplace when I was living in Cleveland up until last year. And let's see, what did I do with this machine? So I replaced the hose on this one too. It still worked, but the pigtail going into the hose was split, and I didn't want it to start shorting. So again, fortunately, I have a friend who has a very large vacuum store and lots of old vacuums, and he had an Excalibur like this in his basement, and I took the hose off of it. I also replaced the brush roll because the brush roll was kind of shot. The bristles were still good in length, but the bearings were bad, so I bought a new wooden brush roll. They actually still make the brushes for this vacuum because this is actually a NuTone central vacuum power nozzle, and it's a really good power nozzle. As soon as I replace the brush, it walks right across the carpet, and it's really not that loud either. What's interesting about this machine is that it was made in Europe. I think it was made, or was it made? Anyway, I don't remember, but this is a European vacuum. It's actually a Volta. Volta is a European vacuum cleaner brand. Not as popular as Miele. I don't even know if they're around anymore, but anyway, this machine was made by Volta and imported for Eureka with an American hose and power nozzle on it. You can tell the attachments are very European. They're small. They're very Miele-like. For the time, it had a really good filtration system. It has a pre-motor filter as well as a post-motor filter right here. So for the time, it had good filtration. Uses a Mega bag. They actually still make the bags for this machine, fortunately. Down here, this is another one of my favorite vacuums. This is an Oreck Dutch Tech canister, and this machine was also imported for American sales, this time by Philips, which is a Dutch appliance and electronics company. And the Philips versions were a little bit smaller. This machine's a little bigger, but it's a very powerful, very quiet machine. The power nozzle is a Wesselwerk, but it's a smaller variant of the Wesselwerk power nozzle, which, you know, isn't great for thick carpet, but I really like using this on the runners because it doesn't pull up on them too much. And my fake Orientals in my living room and dining room are very thin piles, so that will actually work really well on that. You could get the full-size Wesselwerk with this as well. There might have even been a straight suction variant. I don't know, but yeah, again, interesting vacuum. This is a wind tunnel turbo power Hoover canister. I got this at a thrift store a few years ago. It's generally in really good shape. It works well. I use the HEPA S bags in it. One of the brackets that holds the turbo brush in is broken, which is a very common problem on these. Other than that, what did I do? Oh, one of the wheels was really worn, so I was able to replace one of the wheels. Fortunately, where it was broken wasn't part of the housing, so I was able just to replace the wheel itself instead of having to replace the whole base. Let's continue onward this way. Oh boy, this is getting to be a long video. Hopefully this won't take too long to load. This is a Eureka Whirlwind. This is not the Whirlwind that most younger vacuum collectors would be familiar with. This is the first Eureka Whirlwind that came out in around 1997. From what I've been told, this machine was brought to the United States specifically to compete with Phantoms in vacuum cleaner stores. This machine was primarily sold in vacuum stores, but they were advertised on TV. Would really like to find the infomercial, but have never seen it. So this machine was imported, much like this Eureka over here. This was made by Electrolux of Sweden. They were sold as Electroluxes overseas. They also had a canister variant as well, and I actually have that machine as well, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But what's interesting about this is that this is brand new old stock. I've never used it. I bought it at a vacuum store in Pittsburgh when I was in school, and I turned it on. But it never vacuumed with it. It has not a Lamb motor, but a Lamb-like motor. It has that kind of a sound to it. It's a very interesting vacuum. The only real problem with these is that, like the newer Whirlwinds, it has that awful dust cup design that clogs quickly if you pick up lots of pet hair. But what is unique about this machine is that this dust cup was called the Cyclonic Cassette, and the reasoning behind that is you could, at least in the Electrolux variants, you could take this whole piece out and then put a bag door on and put a bag in it. So the original idea behind this machine, in that kind of transition period where people were still kind of on the fence about bagless before bagless took over the world, they wanted to give you that option to use bagged or bagless. So that's kind of a unique aspect about this machine. So don't know, still haven't decided if I'm ever going to use it or not. At some point I'll probably give in because I feel like it would be kind of a fun vacuum to use. So we'll see. This is a Kenmore upright. It doesn't say progressive on it, but it's basically the lowest of the line progressive upright. This was my grandmother's, not the same one with the red Kenmore over there, but my other grandmother. They bought this when they moved into their apartment about 2002. She was more of a canister person, so it wasn't really used a whole lot. and I got it about 13 years ago, and we used it in my parents' house as our primary vacuum for quite a while, until my dad broke the cord. Um, Interestingly enough, kind of a defect with these early 2000s Kenmores is that these prongs had a tendency to just break off. We had a bagless Kenmore that did that, and then my dad did it with this one, and fortunately I was able to get off of a scrapped Kenmore upright this cord, so it's the, authentic cord. But I don't use it a whole lot, but it's a good vacuum. I mean, they were made by Panasonic. There was even a Panasonic version of this machine in a slightly lighter shade of blue. So, yeah. And I used to have the infomercial for this machine too, but I gave that videotape away to a collector friend of mine. Next to this is the Kenmore Drytech. And for those who don't know the history about this machine, James Dyson designed this machine for Sears, and it's very unique. So it's technically not really a vacuum. It's a dry powder carpet shampooer. The primary purpose of the vacuuming component is to suck up the powder that you dispense onto the floor. How well it really works, I don't really know. I've only ever really used it once, and it doesn't really work that well. I only really have it because of the history behind the machine. And my grandmother bought this for me on eBay when I would think I was about 15. And this is the nicest one I've ever come across. I've had a few others of these over the years, but there were two primary defects with this design. One being the handle release, which is weak. The one on this one is still good. The other being the gears. So the gears that help drive the specialized dry powder scrubbing brush are plastic, and when they get old they break, and then it makes an awful grinding sound, and they don't work right. Fortunately, the gears on this one are still in good shape, and I think part of that is because this just wasn't used very much. So I don't use it very much because I don't want it to break, but I have it anyway. Behind these two units, I have this in here is a Riccar 8900 series I bought from another vacuum collector. Haven't used it yet, but I wanted it because, in my opinion, the 8900 was the best machine they ever made. Taconi made with the dual stage lamp motor. Thus is the reason I have it. This little Eureka, I bought that when I was 9 years old at Walmart, and I used it to primarily to clean our basement with. And yeah, I still have it. I don't use it very much because it's not really very powerful, but I just have it because this was really the first vacuum I ever bought with my own money. I used my birthday money to buy this. I think I paid like, I don't know, maybe $40 for it, somewhere around there. So this is an 11 amp Phantom. It's brand new in the box. I think I've turned it on twice just for collector friends of mine to see, but I've never vacuumed with it. I bought it brand new on eBay in 2018, and I'm sure glad that it was a buy it now and I saw it when I did, because had it not been a buy it now, I probably wouldn't have been able to afford to buy it because it was $320, and had it gone to auction, it probably would have gone for at least 2 or 3 times that. So I'm very fortunate to have it. This was originally sold at Electric Avenue, which was an off-branch of the Montgomery Ward department store. Why it was never sold, I don't know, other than maybe they were liquidating and it didn't sell, because Electric Avenue, I think, went under not too long after this machine was manufactured. So, or maybe the store, just that singular store, was closing, I don't know. But regardless, that is the brand new Phantom that I have. This is a toy Kenmore that is actually supposed to be the toy copy of this vacuum, and you can kind of see the resemblance between the bag door on that and the bag door on that. But I bought this on Facebook Marketplace, and I just thought it was too unique and cool to pass up. So I don't really collect toy vacuums, but I had never seen one of these before, so I had to buy it. This is an Airway sanitizer. Is it a Mark? Yeah, it's a Mark V. I bought this too from a vacuum collector. He got it from the original owner, traded in. I think they bought a Miele to replace it. And I recently was able to get the accessory kit bag and power nozzle and owner's manual for it. So yeah, there's that. And then in here is a brand new TriStar canister, the last all metal with metal wand TriStar, with the newer all plastic, more uncommon power nozzle. Bought that from a vacuum collector as well, and I have switched it on, but I have yet to use it. This is an Electrolux Ultralux, one of the last all metal body Electrolux canisters before they went completely plastic. By this time they had plastic models, but still had some metal ones. I bought this from the daughter of the original owner on Facebook Marketplace. The machine is used, but it was used very, very little. I think she only really used it for a couple of years because it's like new. The one unfortunate thing is they stored it in a very, very, very dry, very hot attic, and a lot of the plastic pieces, not on the canister, but on the power nozzle and the wands, were dry rotted and completely broke apart. Thus, as a result, fortunately, the vacuum collector friend, I was able to purchase the necessary parts to replace the broken ones, as well as the hose, because the hose was also shot from dry rot as well. Below that is a Royal tank, and this one is actually a commercial model with a 3-prong cord, and there's I guess a not so much better view of it, but that's what it looks like. This has an interesting story as well. So I bought this when I was living in Cleveland, and I bought it from a gentleman who had a friend who worked for Royal, and he had this machine as well as another tank with the power nozzle, and I ended up buying both of them. And the power nozzle machine was actually missing the wand, the hose, and the attachments. So basically we just got the tank and the power nozzle and manual for that machine. I am a little stumped about this and the other machine because what is interesting about the other machine that I no longer have, I sold it to a collector, is there was no serial number sticker on the machine. So my guess is that the machine was actually a warranty machine that was only kept left over as a machine to fix perhaps warranty claims. So it's the only thing I can think of about that machine, but I thought it was very interesting. This one I think does have the serial number sticker on it. So down here, oh gosh, that vacuum's dusty. I have to dust that. This vacuum is actually related to this Eureka over here. So this is another Electrolux that was imported to the United States, this time for Sears as a Kenmore. Backtracking to this machine again, this machine was also sold as a Kenmore at the same time this was being sold as a Kenmore in Sears. And like they had a Eureka version of this upright, they had a canister version as a Eureka as well for this machine. And this came after the Eureka, so this is like early 2000s. and it's a really cool machine. It has a lot of power. I would probably compare the Cyclone system to like that of a Shark. So it's not very effective, but the machine does have a lot of power. This is a Eureka power nozzle, but this is the wooden brush roll Vibra-Groomer model. But it is a cool machine and it does work very well. I'm really happy to have it. Let's see, going over here, we have my Phantom. So this is my Phantom Domestic that I bought from the original owner now 10 years ago, almost exactly actually. And it's in good shape. I have all the tools with it. I also have the exhaust cap, and yeah, it works well. The headlights didn't work, so I had those fixed. And yeah. Next to that is a Regina electric broom. I'm not much into Regina brooms, but I saw this color, and this is one of my favorite colors. And I just had to have it when I saw it at a thrift store because it's like pretty much, it's not in mint condition, but it's one of the nicest condition older Regina brooms that I've ever seen. So I have it, and I don't use it much, but I have it. This is my Thunder. So this Phantom I bought on Craigslist. This one is kind of special because this was the first Phantom I ever bought, and it's actually the first vacuum I ever bought for my collection. Technically, I guess my mother bought it as an early birthday present for me. But it's kind of interesting because I've now owned this vacuum longer than the original owner has owned this vacuum, because this vacuum was 12 years old when I bought it, and now it's 27 years old, so I've had it for 15 years. So, yeah, I think that's kind of cool. And then over here, we have my Phantom Fury. I bought this from another vacuum collector. The motor's been completely rebuilt in it, the original 10 amp motor, so it runs beautifully. And much the same with this Cyclone XT. This I actually got from a friend who found it in a vacuum cleaner shop basement, who was an ex-Phantom dealer. And I've had the motor rebuilt on that as well, so it also runs very nicely. This vacuum has a long story, but I'm going to try to make it short because now I'm almost at 30 minutes. So this Phantom Wildcat, I originally bought from a vacuum cleaner shop that was an ex-Phantom dealer. It's actually the same one where that Cyclone XT came from. And I originally bought this for parts. I ended up using this machine to part on other machines, but I was since able to get the brush roll and the handle release pedal for it off of another machine, and I ended up trading this with a bunch of other vacuums for a couple of Rainbows. And last summer, oh no, it wasn't last summer, I think it was just a couple months ago, I bought this vacuum back from him because I decided I wanted at least one Phantom post dual cyclonic, so this is a single cyclonic. And it's kind of anemic, but since I am a clean person, my carpets don't get very dirty. It actually works just fine, I guess. You don't have a lot of dirt to pick up, I guess. Anyway, so going on to the last 4 vacuums I have in this room. My pink Hoover convertible from 1970. I also bought this from a vacuum collector. Cosmetically, it's not perfect. It's like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. But it's been fully serviced, and I wanted a convertible that was fully serviced. And I liked the pink, so, because I don't have any other pink vacuum, so that's my Hoover. This is a Dirt Devil Plus. This is an 8.2 amp, and this is a 1993 model. And I got this from a collector friend of mine. and it actually works flawlessly. He had a friend who needed a vacuum, so I ended up selling him a Shark, and the vacuum that Shark replaced was another Direct Air Dirt Devil upright that, unfortunately, as rare as that model was, it was in really, really bad shape, but fortunately it had the parts I needed to make this one complete. So I needed a bumper, I needed a sole plate, and I needed the attachments. I also needed a hose because the button lock release was missing, and all of those things were astonishingly perfect on his. Everything else, it was like everything else on his was broken but those three pieces. So I was able to make this one complete. And this machine is actually kind of special to me because I bought this exact vacuum model-wise from somebody on Craigslist when I was like 12 or 13, and it never ran right, and now I have one that works perfectly, so I'm kind of glad to have one of these again. The only real downside to this vacuum is that it is very loud. It's actually one of the loudest vacuums I've ever used, but they do clean carpet really well. This even cleans better than like a Hoover and Elite because of how large the motor fan is. Oh gosh, here's another dusty vacuum that is showing on the camera. So this is a green Eureka Imperial from, I think, about 1995. I bought this from a Goodwill last fall, and I bought it with another Eureka Y-Track model that went to a collector, and I think I only paid like $15 for it. All I really did was change the belt and change the bag, but it works really well. I've used it on carpet cleaning jobs a few times, so really happy to have it. And the last vacuum we have over here is my Filter Queen. We have my Filter Queen Majestic Triple Crown. I bought this from a vacuum collector, and this vacuum has gotten some really heavy use from me. So when I was in Cleveland, this was like my shop vac that I would clean other vacuums out with. And now it's in semi-retirement, and when I do use it, I use it for household use now. So that's that. I was able to obtain the original owner's manual for this machine on eBay recently too. And then I'll show you my work closet quick. So this is kind of my catch-all for things that I don't want to display or don't have room to display in my projects. So you can see there's some Sharks, lots of backless stuff, mostly stuff that I'm either cleaning up or selling. So most of these vacuums I'm not keeping, but some I am. So this is another 11 amp Phantom. I bought this at a thrift store a month and a half ago, and it works, but it's a little rough, so I'm really only keeping it for parts. This is my Hoover Floormate, the floor cleaner I use on the tile in my kitchen and bathroom. And then I have two more Phantoms back here. So this is an Iona Nova Dry, so it's the twin to my Drytech. I got this from a vacuum collector, and it's pretty unique because it's an Iona, it's not a Kenmore. This is actually the rarest variant of the capture machines. It works great. I just didn't want them both on display, so I have this one back here, and it's really mainly a parts machine now, in case I need anything on my nicer one to be replaced. And then I have a second Phantom Cyclone XT. Again, this is mainly now a parts vacuum. Mechanically, it works just about perfect, but cosmetically, it has some issues. So I have it sitting back here for parts if I ever need Phantom stuff. And this isn't a vacuum, but it was made by a vacuum company. This is a Filter Queen Defender air cleaner. I don't have it plugged in, but I am going to start running it really soon. So anyway, that is my vacuum cleaner collection. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I look forward to posting more content in the future.